Hi everyone, my name is Mark, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. Jacqueline Jackie Vandagriff was born in Carrollton, Texas on March 4th, 1992. She was the youngest of two daughters. Throughout her life, Jackie resided in the Colony in Frisco, Texas, where she was raised alongside her loving family. Before Jackie could walk, she learned to somersault, showcasing her natural talent for gymnastics. This early introduction fostered her passion for the sport and paved the way for her future success. Jackie's parents recognized her potential at just 3 and enrolled her in gymnastics courses. Over the following years, she honed her skills and eagerly participated in various competitions. Jackie reached level 5 in the Texas State Gymnastics Association. Those who knew Jackie described her as a warm and compassionate person. Jackie had a heart of gold and genuinely cared about the well-being of others. She was a loyal friend who encouraged her loved ones to be the best versions of themselves. Through words of encouragement or simply being there to listen, Jackie's company brought comfort and joy to those around her. Jackie's kindness extended beyond human relationships. She deeply loved animals, was a lifelong vegetarian, and believed in supporting pet adoption from no-kill shelters. Her compassion extended to all living beings. Jackie was passionate about reading. Her favorite book series was Harry Potter, and she would lose herself in the magical world of Hogwarts. In addition to reading, Jackie had a deep love for music. Jackie's taste was eclectic, ranging from Pink to James Taylor and Rob Thomas. One of her greatest passions was musicals, especially Rent. She would go to every performance of the musical whenever it was in town. After completing her high school education at Wakeland High School in Frisco, Jackie decided to enroll in the Paul Mitchell School for Cosmetology. She completed her training and earned her license as an esthetician. Determined to continue her education, Jackie enrolled at Texas Woman's University and majored in nutrition and food science. She knew that good nutrition was crucial and believed everyone deserved access to proper nourishment. Jackie envisioned a future where she could educate others about the importance of eating well and empower them to make healthier choices. It seemed as if Jackie Vandagriff was destined for greatness. The college junior was on a path toward achieving her dreams and positively impacting the world. However, in the summer of 2016, a fateful encounter with an evil person would tragically end her life. On Wednesday, September 14, 2016, at around dawn, an officer with the Grapevine Police Department in Grapevine, Texas, received a disturbing call. The caller informed the officer that someone had found a body out by Grapevine Lake. Upon receiving the call, the officer immediately headed to the scene. Upon arriving, the officer walked into a wooded area and discovered a worn footpath. Following the path, he eventually came upon a burned patch of land. In this area was a plastic blue kiddie pool, and inside this pool was a body. The officer quickly realized that the body had been set on fire, leaving it burned beyond recognition. It was impossible to determine its identity as it lacked any distinguishing features that could identify whether it was an adult, child, male or female, or even the race of the victim. With the body's condition making it difficult to identify, the badly burned remains were transported to the medical examiner's office. Fingerprint identification would later reveal that the body belonged to 24-year-old Jackie Vandagriff. As detectives delved into Jackie's final moments, they learned she had last been seen in Denton, near College. Jackie had visited 2 bars, Fry Street Public House and Shots and Crafts. As detectives waited for the security footage from those establishments, Jackie's body was autopsied by the medical examiner. Jackie had been killed, dismembered, decapitated, and set on fire, and her body had been further mutilated after death. The most chilling discovery, though, was that her killer had removed her heart. News of Jackie's murder began to spread around Denton. The detectives received tips from people who claimed to have seen the fire at the crime scene with a suspicious man loitering around it. Detectives eventually managed to obtain the CCTV footage from 2 bars Jackie had visited around the time of her death. The first bar was the Fry Street Public House, where a man was seen entering the establishment at 7 p.m. He sat at the bar and was seen having a drink. 1 hour later, Jackie walked into the Fry Street Public House. While sitting at the bar, Jackie engaged in conversation with the bartender and this man. The footage captured their interactions and provided valuable insights into their possible connection. About 45 minutes after the footage showed Jackie entering the Fry Street Public House, she made a tweet on her Twitter account. It read, "Glad I decided to get off Tinder and walk to a bar." After spending significant time at the Fry Street Public House, Jackie and the man left the bar together. They headed to another establishment called Shots and Crafts, where they mingled with a group of women. Around 9:45 p.m., Jackie and the man left Shots and Crafts together. The detectives could track Jackie and the man using the CCTV footage. They followed their journey and discovered that the man had taken Jackie to his car. At the convenience store, Jackie can be seen in the man's vehicle, and at that point, all appeared okay. However, that was the last sighting of Jackie before her murder. The detectives spoke to the bartender from the Fry Street Public House. According to the bartender, Jackie came in looking to apply for a job when she had a friendly conversation with him and a male customer at the bar. However, the bartender admitted he had no further information regarding what became of Jackie and the male customer after they left his establishment. Next, the detectives found the woman Jackie and the man were seen on the security footage at Shots and Crafts. One of the women in the group mentioned that she had received a business card from the man Jackie was seen with. According to the woman, she had exchanged contact information with the man because he was a personal trainer, and she expressed interest in fitness. Although it seemed insignificant initially, this seemingly trivial detail would prove to be a crucial breakthrough in the investigation. To their surprise, the woman still had the card in her hand and willingly shared the information with the investigators. The name on the card, Charles Bryant. By this point, the detectives had obtained footage from Walmart at 4 a.m. that showed Charles purchasing a shovel. The detectives conducted a thorough investigation into the true identity of Charles Bryant, the last person seen with Jackie before she was murdered. Their findings proved to be deeply unsettling. Charles Bryant, a 29-year-old man, lived approximately 20 miles away from Denton, but the city held a significant allure for him. What was drawing him there was the desperate attempt to rekindle his relationship with ex-girlfriend Caitlin. Caitlin, a resident of Grapevine, was attending the University of North Texas. 3 months earlier, Caitlin met Charles Bryant at her home in Grapevine, Texas, when he came into the restaurant where she worked as a server on the day of her high school graduation. Charles was different from the high school boys Caitlin was used to. Firstly, he was in his late 20s, almost a decade older than Caitlin. Secondly, Charles was covered in tattoos, showcasing his muscular physique. He worked as a personal trainer and bartender, accumulating unique skills and traits that intrigued Caitlin. During the summer of 2016, Caitlin spent nearly every day with Charles at Grapevine Lake. Their attraction grew stronger with each passing day, and Caitlin was captivated by her older boyfriend's enigmatic nature. However, not everyone shared Caitlin's enthusiasm. As Caitlin's relationship with Charles progressed, her mother became aware of their significant age gap. Concerned for her daughter's well-being, she asked Caitlin to show her a picture of Charles. While initially willing to give Charles the benefit of the doubt, Caitlin's mother admitted to feeling an immediate unease upon gazing into his piercing eyes. It was as though she was staring directly at evil. Caitlin's mother, growing increasingly concerned for her daughter's well-being, voiced her concerns, urging her to reconsider her relationship with Charles. However, Caitlin dismissed her warnings, dismissing them as mere parental concerns. "He's so nice to me," Caitlin insisted, oblivious to the sinister nature lurking beneath the surface of her seemingly innocent attraction. Little did she know that her harmless romance was about to turn into a nightmarish ordeal. Initially, Caitlin was happy with her new relationship with her older boyfriend. However, as the weeks progressed, doubts began to surface and she started to question whether her mother was right. Charles seemed excessively narcissistic and manipulative, and Caitlin couldn't shake the feeling that he thought highly of himself. To make her feel bad, Charles would constantly remind her that she could never find anyone as good as him. By mid-August 2016, when Caitlin was preparing to move to Denton for her first year at college, she decided to break up with Charles. The red flags were becoming too numerous to ignore any longer. However, the following day, Charles showed up at Caitlin's home and begged her to get back together, claiming he was going to do better. Caitlin gave in and resumed their relationship. Within a week, Caitlin had moved out of Grapevine into Denton to start school. Once Caitlin moved away, she ended her relationship with Charles once and for all. However, Charles was not the type to take no for an answer. On August 24th, police found Charles on the University of North Texas campus while conducting a traffic stop because of the way he was driving. The officer thought it was a DUI, but Charles was not over the legal limit of alcohol. Nevertheless, he was charged with several outstanding warrants and let go. Several hours later, Charles returned to the University of North Texas and knocked on Caitlin's dorm room door, which he had somehow managed to locate. Caitlin called 911, and by the time the officer arrived, Charles had already vanished. When the officer questioned Caitlin, she explained that she had been sick of the way Charles treated her and spoke to her, prompting her to end their relationship. For Charles did not accept this decision. Taking Caitlin's concerns seriously, the police officer issued Charles a temporary no trespass order, banning him from the UNT campus. However, Charles was not deterred by this setback. He was determined to find a way to get to Caitlin, regardless of the restrictions placed upon him by the school. On August 31st, Charles stumbled upon Caitlin on her first day of a new job. Recognizing Charles, Caitlin asked him to leave. Caitlin scheduled a meeting with her manager to discuss the situation and request that he bar Charles from entering the business. However, the manager informed Caitlin that this request was beyond his control. The incident at Caitlin's workplace forced Caitlin to quit her job. Despite Caitlin's efforts, Charles was determined to find a way to confront her. He would stop at nothing to exact his revenge and cause her further harm. The cycle of fear and intimidation continued as Charles' obsession consumed him, and Caitlin's life remained in jeopardy. In the meantime, Caitlin was residing on campus at UNT, which worried her mother greatly. Concerned for her safety, her mother pleaded for her to return home so they could protect her. However, Caitlin was confident in her decision to stay in her dorm room, feeling safe within the confines of the university. On September 6th, a chilling incident occurred when Charles reappeared at Caitlin's dorm on the UNT campus. As he banged on the door to her room, Caitlin feared the worst and sought refuge in her suite mate's closet. From her hiding place, she could hear Charles urging her to come out, telling her he had something for her. Caitlin's darkest fears began to manifest, and her mind raced with terrifying scenarios of what Charles might have in store for her. Terrified for her life, Caitlin made a split-second decision and called 911 while inside the Lacoste, talking in hushed tones, fearing that Charles could hear her. The dispatcher repeatedly requested that she speak up, but Caitlin was too frightened to speak clearly. Despite the dispatcher's attempts, Caitlin's voice remained barely audible due to the overwhelming fear she experienced. As time went on, the police arrived at the scene, but unfortunately, Charles had already fled the scene. However, he left a chilling reminder of his presence, flowers and a handwritten 2-page letter addressed to Caitlin. The letter contained disturbing messages and further heightened the fear of the young woman. Minutes after the incident, officers managed to apprehend Charles outside campus, dressed in running clothes, as if he was exercising as a student. He was arrested for trespassing and released on bail a few hours later. Despite Caitlin's efforts to remove Charles from all her communication channels by blocking him on her phone, email, and social media, he continued to devise new ways to contact her. Charles created multiple accounts, ensuring that he maintained some form of communication with her. Recognizing that Charles's behavior had escalated, the police stepped in to assist Caitlin in obtaining a protective court order. On the very next day, she formally filed a petition for the order, which granted her legal protection from further harassment. However, even after his first arrest, Charles continued to try to communicate with Caitlin. These unwanted communications resulted in his second arrest for stalking, as he continued to violate the terms of the protective order. It was his third arrest within 2 weeks. Following his second arrest, Charles posted a $5,000 bond and was released from custody. While out on bail, Charles Bryant went to Fry Street, where Caitlin normally hung out. Detectives were positive Charles met Jackie Vandagriff there. Even though there was a lot of circumstantial evidence linking Charles to Jackie's murder, there was nothing physical. When the detectives helping Caitlin with her stalking case at UNT heard Charles was the prime suspect in a murder, they worried for Caitlin's safety. Caitlin said she was okay. Still, in the days following Jackie's murder, Charles sent her several photos, texts, and emails. On September 18th, the police arrested Charles for violating Caitlin's protective order. While Charles was in jail on those charges, the detectives hoped to find more evidence connecting him to Jackie's death. Detectives questioned Charles, and when shown a picture of Jackie, he said he saw her at the bar but knew nothing about her. At the same time as the detectives questioned Charles, investigators served a search warrant on his home. During the search, investigators found a large military-style knife and a Texas woman's university purse, which turned out to be Jackie's school purse. Furthermore, investigators found a kiddie pool missing from Charles's backyard that matched the one Jackie was found dead inside. The detectives consulted an expert with extensive experience and knowledge in dealing with prolific killers. This expert, who had worked with the Texas Rangers, was well versed in understanding the mindset of people like Charles. They knew that men like Charles often had a strong desire to talk about their crimes. When the initial interview began, Charles denied having any recollection of Jackie. However, the expert believed that Charles was hiding something. The expert sensed that Charles did know what had happened to Jackie. To create a friendly and open atmosphere, the expert attempted to lighten the tension in the interrogation room. The expert made it seem like they were simply two buddies having a casual conversation at a local bar. By establishing a rapport, the expert aimed to ease Charles's mind and gain his trust. As they engaged in conversation, the expert began suggesting possible scenarios to see if Charles would take the bait. The expert tried to portray Jackie as an instigator, leading Charles on and causing frustration. Throughout the conversation, the expert used various tactics to see if Charles would react to certain prompts. However, the expert's approach was not without risk. If the expert pushed too hard or appeared insincere, he could lose Charles's trust and hinder the investigation. Therefore, the expert had to strike a balance, maintaining his friendly demeanor while subtly trying to entice Charles into confessing the truth. During the interview with Charles, the expert closely monitored his responses and mannerisms to understand his character better. Under the pretense of aiding Charles in recalling the events surrounding Jackie's admission, the expert conducted a brief memory exercise. To the expert's surprise, Charles's story began to change slightly. Initially claiming ignorance regarding Jackie's admission, Charles disclosed that he had spoken to her at the Fry Street public house when she went there to apply for a job. As the conversation between the expert and Charles continued, the expert decided to take a different approach. Ordering pizza, the expert hoped that the food might relax Charles, and the detectives could uncover the motive behind Jackie's murder. The detectives involved in the case believed that the catalyst behind Jackie's death was Charles's uncontrollable rage towards his ex-girlfriend, Caitlin. The interrogation lasted for approximately 3 hours, and during this time, Charles admitted to unintentionally killing Jackie during what Charles referred to as kinky sex. According to Charles, the incident took place in his car, and Jackie asked him to choke her with an oversized zip tie that he had in his possession. However, Charles insisted that the death was accidental. Charles claimed that neither he nor Jackie had tightened the zip tie. It had just happened. After the interview, Charles Bryant was charged with Jackie Vandagriff's murder. When Charles was charged with Jackie's murder, his ex-girlfriend Caitlin took to social media to look at Jackie's Facebook page and was shocked to see they were already friends. Suddenly, Caitlin remembered getting a friend request from Jackie's Facebook page on the day her body was found before Caitlin was aware of the case. Caitlin was positive that her ex-boyfriend Charlie and the suspect in Jackie's murder used Jackie's phone to friend request her. Furthermore, a tweet sent out from Jackie's account after her death, which read, "Never knew I could feel like this," the police also felt came from Charles after he murdered her. One woman, Christy, was stunned to hear that Charles, whom she had met through a dating app the previous year, had been charged with murder. The Charles she knew was quiet and reserved, but during their brief time together, she observed several red flags that raised her suspicions. Christy claimed that Charles quickly became attached to her, and she eventually decided to end their relationship. However, Charles continued to pursue her, even professing his love for her desperately. This declaration came as a surprise to Christy, as she and Charles had never shared a kiss. Christy's profession, working with abused children, gave her a unique perspective and led her to recognize certain patterns in Charles's behavior. She suspected that he may have been a victim of abuse in his childhood, as she had seen similar patterns in some of her young clients. One day, Christy mustered up the courage to ask Charles if he had been abused as a child. To Christy's surprise, Charles admitted that he had experienced such trauma. However, the police found no verification of Charles's claims of abuse. However, Christy thought it was true that Charles was abused. She claimed because Charles was a nice man and she felt sorry for him, she stayed in touch, albeit at a distance, but never thought he was capable of murder. Because Jackie's autopsy provided a few answers, such as her cause of death and where she was killed before she was dismembered and set on fire, the prosecution worried about providing a murder case. The autopsy results failed to provide clear insights into the circumstances surrounding Jackie's death, leaving key questions unanswered. Charles admitted to disposing of Jackie's body after she accidentally died during rough intercourse. During the investigation, Charles confessed to his involvement in disposing of Jackie's body. However, he pleaded not guilty to her murder. The prosecution sought Caitlin, Charles's ex-girlfriend, to testify about his stalking behavior and obsessive, violent tendencies, aiming to demonstrate a link between his rage towards Caitlin and his eventual murder of Jackie, an individual whom even Charles admitted during his interrogation bore a striking resemblance to Caitlin. Caitlin took the stand at trial, although without the presence of a jury. When faced with identifying Charles, she refused to look at him, expressing discomfort. However, when compelled to do so, she reluctantly pointed him out, stating that he had a smirk that sickened her. Following her testimony, Caitlin left the courtroom and broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the emotional impact. Ultimately, the judge ruled that Caitlin would be unable to recount the details of her relationship and subsequent breakup with Charles to the jury. In April 2018, 1.5 years after Jackie's tragic demise, Charles Bryant stood trial for her murder. However, Jackie's best friend found herself unable to bear the sight of Charles, choosing not to attend the court proceedings. The mere thought of having to confront him face to face was too overwhelming for her to bear. It was a painful reminder of the devastation he had caused to their lives.